grade 9 Austin.
How are you today?
That's good to hear.
Today, we are glad to introduce ourselves. My name is Teacher Jelly.
Teacher Lovely G.
And I am Teacher Joy.
And we are your facilitators for today's class. For today's lesson class, you are expected to first share the following: background of the author, characterization, and relationships of the characters. The second one is that you need to discuss the plot of the play Trifles. The third one, explain the implication of the title, themes, cultural implications, and styles of the author. The fourth one, you need to write a script for a chamber theater performance. And then the last one, you need to justify the rules of men and women through the following: spoken poetry, open letter, and song.
After our last meeting, you were informed of an assignment posted in our Google Classroom. That said, we are assuming that you have researched in the internet about the background of an author named Susan Gaspel, her play titled Trifles, and the play's characterization written in the internet. Have you done it?
Yes, teacher.
Very good. Now, who can share about the background of the author?
Me, teacher.
Yes, Miss Rayos.
Susan Gaspel co-founded the first modern American theater company, the Provincetown's Players, and was a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, actress, novelist, and journalist. Most of her 9 novels, 14 plays, and over 50 short stories are set in Iowa, where she was raised.
Very good. Susan Gaspel is a journalist, novelist, actress, who write a play, short stories, and more. Now, who can give me more information about her?
Teacher.
Yes, Miss Villarino.
Gaspel was raised to value hard work on a farm in rural Davenport, Iowa. She often wrote about being worthy inheritors of the land and was greatly influenced by the writings of Black Hawk and the Sauk American Indian chief on whose former land she was raised.
Yes, you are correct. Give me some information, please, Miss Katap.
Yes, teacher. In her early professional career, Gaspel excelled in a male-dominated field, becoming a reporter for the Des Moines Daily News.
Wow, she's an amazing woman, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in relation to that, is there a historical background of play Trifles? If there is, kindly explain to me, Miss Dingal.
Susan Gaspel's one-act play Trifles, ma'am, is based on actual events that occurred in Iowa at the turn of the century. From 1899 to 1901, Gaspel worked as a reporter for the Des Moines News, where she covered the trial of a farmer's wife, Margaret Hossack, in Indianola, Iowa.
Yes, very good. Susan Gaspel is a journalist who covered a murder case. That's a huge information, right? Now, speaking of trifles, what is the definition of trifles?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Cabusas.
Trifles means a thing of little value or importance, ma'am.
Correct. Trifle seems like an important, unvalued, unfortunate, and less. Now, who can give me an example of things that have a little value or importance and why?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, again, Mr. Cabusas.
A rug, ma'am, because it's only useful for cleaning and usually filthy.
Very good. Now, is there a family member, friend, or acquaintance that is like a trifle for you?
No, ma'am. I respect and love every human being.
That's nice. Now, moving on. Who can enumerate the characters in the play?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Katap.
The main characters in Trifles are Minnie Wright, George Henderson, Sheriff Henry Peters, Lewis Hale, Mrs. Hale, and Mrs. Peters.
Excellent. Now, who can give me the main character among them and give the description? Yes, Miss Dingal?
Mrs. Minnie Wright, ma'am. Minnie Wright is a woman accused of killing her husband, John Wright.
Right. Mrs. Minnie Wright is the suspect in killing her husband. Now, who is Sheriff Henry Peters?
Ma'am.
Yes, Miss Inocencio.
Sheriff Henry Peters is the local sheriff who accompanies George Henderson on his investigation. Although less vocal and bombastic than Henderson, Peters is equally prejudiced against and judgmental of women.
Yes, Sheriff is the local sheriff who helped in the investigation. Now, Miss Pukulan, can you tell me who is Mrs. Hale?
Mrs. Hale, ma'am, is Louis Hale's wife. She emphasizes with Minnie and conceals the evidence of Minnie's crime, ma'am.
Yes, Mrs. Hale is Louis Hale's wife and she is sympathizing with Minnie. Now, Miss Abrao, can you tell me who is Mrs. Peters?
Mrs. Peters is the sheriff's wife who helps Mrs. Hale hide the evidence, ma'am.
Yes, right. Mrs. Peter is the sheriff's wife with the same intention in sympathizing Minnie. Now, can you tell me who is George Anderson?
George Henderson, ma'am, is the county attorney who will prosecute Minnie for murder.
That's right. George Henderson will prosecute Minnie. Among them, who are the neighbors of Mr. and Mrs. Wright?
Mr. and Mrs. Hale, ma'am.
Yes, very good. Lewis Hale is neighbor of Minnie. Now you all answer the questions correctly. Now based from this story, how is the genre of the play Trifles related to the author's background and work? Yes, Miss Pukulan.
Glaspell used to work in journalism, and she covered the murder trial of a farmer's wife, Margaret Hossack, in Indianola, Iowa. So, that's why the play focuses on crime and mystery, ma'am.
That's right. Thank you for your active participation to answer the questions, class. It seems that you really read the piece and research thoroughly. Let's give yourself a round of applause. Now, in addition to your ideas, I will share a little context. The play Trifle is a one-act play with a murder as its central theme. This drama skillfully conveys a viewpoint on contemporary women's predicament and the extent of their social position. In the play, the author infused majestic style in presenting the scenes. Hence, in the following part of our class session, we will uncover the truth behind Mr. Wright's death and how will the characters consist of men and women carry their investigation. Are you all curious, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's have Teacher Grace Joy to continue our discussion.
We are already filled with the knowledge about the play's background, including the introduction of the characters and setting of the story. At this juncture, let's watch a trailer of the live theater performance of the play Trifles by Susan Glaspell. Now, after watching the trailer, class, what do you feel about it?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Amante?
it's nice to see the visual presentation of the story, ma'am.
Indeed, the visual presentation is very good, right? Now, do you think watching the live performance is better than reading the story?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Villarino?
I believe that it's better to read first the play because it's beautiful that we have our own mental pictures of the story based on our own understanding.
That's right. Reading is a form of an entertainment, and at the same time, reading can also exercise our brain, right? Now, to understand the play, we will have a reporting by group. I want all leaders to come here, then kindly get your manila paper and pen. For the instruction, each group is assigned to a specific part of the plot. I will give you 10 minutes to read a part of the play that you are assigned to, then write a summary outline on the manila paper. Am I understood, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now here are the assigned tasks. Team Red will discuss to us the exposition. Team Blue will report the rising action. Climax will be discussed to us by Team White. Falling action will be reported by Team Yellow rather. And lastly, Team Green will report the resolution. I believe that you are all now done, class. At this point, let's start our reporting from Team Red. Thank you, everyone. All groups have reported well their topics, so give yourselves a good job clap. I believe all of you have learned the story. So my question is, how do you find the play interesting, class? Yes, Miss Villarino?
For me, ma'am, the play Trifles is very interesting because it provides the readers with the insights about how the women are perceived before in a male-dominated society.
Alright, that's a good answer. Now, what are the themes of the play? Can you give one?
One of the themes, ma'am, is gender differences and social oppression of women. The play presents a world of strict gender roles in which the men occupy the sphere of work while the women exist solely in the home.
Yes, that's right. Based on these gender differences, how do the characters in the play carry out the investigation?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Corta?
the male characters only want to gather evidence of Minnie's crime, whereas the women come to understand the emotional pain that drove Minnie to murder her husband.
Yes, that's right. So anyone who can give another theme of the play?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Baluka?
isolation, ma'am.
Yes, that's right. One of the themes of the play is isolation. Now, can you elaborate your answer?
Minnie Wright is isolated from her friends and family by her controlling, abusive husband. This has devastating psychological effects on Minnie.
That's right. Minnie Wright has an abusive husband. You're correct. And in relation to isolation, can you describe the settings of the play?
Mom,
Yes, Miss Corta again?
John Wright's abandoned farmhouse is located down in the hollow, where the road cannot be seen. It is a lonely, gloomy, and cold house.
Wow, what a very isolated place indeed. Now, how about the kitchen? Can you describe it? How do the men in the play perceive it?
Mom,
Yes, Miss Beluca?
the house was dirty. There were unwashed pans under the sink, a loaf of bread outside the bread box, and a dish towel on the table. The men viewed the kitchen as a woman's place.
Wow. Now, based from your description of their house and kitchen, you think Mr. and Mrs. Wright have a good marriage?
No, ma'am. The
Why?
gloomy and unorganized house show that the couple have an unhappy married life.
Yes, that's right. In that situation, how does Minnie's situation affect her mental health?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Lagapa?
she is depressed, distraught, and incoherent.
Yes, the isolated place, the way she has treated her husband, and the way her kitchen is organized, then that concludes that Minnie is depressed, distraught, and incoherent. Now, do you think this is the reason, or those are the reasons why she killed her husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So how did the women carry the investigation to find the truth that Minnie Wright killed her husband?
Mom.
Yes, Miss Lagapa.
The women in the play are able to solve the case because they are able to look at things from a female point of view, and because they do pay attention to the small things in life that the men see as trifles.
Yes, that's right. The things that the men considered trifles are what the women in the play considered as important or significant evidences that are not trifles in it. So, what are the things considered by men as trifles in the play? Can you give an examples?
Ma'am,
Okay, yes, Miss Villarino?
the men consider the following as trifles because they thought they are no help in their investigation. They also associated these as women's things: the kitchen, the canning jars of fruit, dirty towel, the quilt, and the dead bird.
Okay, so those are the things that the men considered trifles. You're correct. How are the canning jars of the fruit related to Minnie as taught by Mrs. Hales and Mrs. Peters?
Ma'am,
Okay, Miss Lagapa?
the canning jars of fruit represent Minnie's extreme concern over her role as wife and her household responsibilities.
That's right, indeed. Now, how about the dirty towel?
Teacher!
Okay, Mr. Baluka.
The dirty towel is one of the many out-of-place objects in Minnie's kitchen that caused George Henderson to accuse her of being a poor housekeeper. The disarray of Minnie's kitchen demonstrates a distressed mind and that Minnie's act of killing her husband was more emotional and dramatic than her demeanor indicates.
Yes, that's right. Now, what is the symbol of the quilt?
Ma'am,
Okay, Mr. Vertadazo.
Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peter decide to bring the quilt of Minnie in jail. Another one of the trifles that the men believe only concern women. The guilt and Minnie's decision to finish it in one of two styles, quilting and knotting, is developed as a metaphor for her innocence or her guilt.
Yes, what a very wide and deep meaning and relation of the women in the play to Minnie Wright. Now my question, another question rather. The dead bird is one of the trifles that gives huge realization for the women in empathizing to Minnie. Now, what does it symbolizes? Anyone who can answer?
Ma'am,
Okay, Miss Villarino again.
the Tangled Songbird that Mrs. Hale and Mrs. Peters discovers explains the motivation behind Minnie Wright's crime, but also symbolizes John Wright's abusive treatment of his wife. Minnie is linked to the bird through Mrs. Hale's memory of her as a young and married woman who liked to sing. Like the dead bird, Minnie was once bright and filled with life, but this energy and vitality was strangled out of her by life with John Wright, by her married life, caught in a patriarchal society living with a hard man.
Yes, that's right. Minnie Wright had a beautiful childhood, had a beautiful life as a lady, but when she was married to Mr. Wright or John Wright, her life changed tragically, and it ended tragically rather, and that resulted to the situation where Mr. Wright was killed, right? So very good for that answer. The play has introduced us to the women in a patriarchal society in 19th century. Now, can you elaborate the play's cultural implication? Anyone?
Mom,
Okay, Mr. Baluka.
Gospel demonstrate in Trifles how in times of political disorder and cultural chaos, the American home turns out to be a frightening context for the so-called strength of patriarchal supremacy and how the division between the public and private sphere is but an imagined concept. Trifles is all about the perfect domestic woman, which is embodied by Minnie Wright, whom Gospel regards as the discursive consequence of patriarchy.
Okay, that's right. Excellent answer. Based from your answers, what is the implication of the title? Or why is the title, or why is the play titled Trifles?
Ma'am,
Okay, Miss Amante.
the trifle of the play refers to the concerns of the women in the play, which the men considered to be the only trifles.
That's right. That's the accurate answer. Now, do you think Mrs. Wright was justified in murdering her husband based on her experience with him?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why? Why do you say
Mrs.
so?
Wright was a victim of domestic violence. However, the act of killing another human being is heavier, and anyone who commits it, regardless of the situation, deserves to be punished.
Yes, that's right. Mrs. Wright or Minnie has a very reasonable situation for killing her husband. However, that doesn't justify of killing another person or killing or get it.
Sige, sige. Cut na dira. Cut na dira.
Okay. That's right. Minnie's action to sorry. Cut rin.
Cut na dira.
Okay. That's right. John's right action towards Minnie was not reasonable. However, Minnie in killing her husband was not also reasonable and justifiable. So, at the end, she is still wrong, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's right. So thank you everyone for your active participation. The brilliant play above teaches us much about the differences between women and men, and crucially the way that men in this patriarchal world so often underestimate the knowledge that women have in their areas of expertise. Now, Miss Villarino will continue the discussion of trifles.
I am confident, class, that you have an in-depth understanding of our discussion today all about the play Trifles. Now we will have a short activity. Are you all excited, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the title of our activity for today is Pass It On. For our instruction, class, I've got here a ball for you to hold and pass to the next student. While you pass the ball, I'll play a music. And when the music stops, the students in this activity who are holding the ball will give the correct sequence of the play's events. Am I understood, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Stop. Yes, Miss Reyes.
I think the first event, Mom, is that Miss Farmer Hale recounts how he discovered John Wright's body.
Yes, that's correct. Farmer Hale recounts how he discovered John Wright's body. Okay, pass it on. Stop. Miss Innocential.
The second sequence of the play, ma'am, is the woman discuss the strange manner of the killing.
Yes, that's awesome. The woman discussed a strange man killing. Okay. Pass it on. Stop. Yes, Miss Amante, give me the third event of the story.
I think the third event of the play is the women discover the quilt in the kitchen and notice is a strange stitching.
Yes, it's all about the discovery of the quilt in the kitchen. Okay, pass the ball. Stop. Yes, Mr. Cabusas.
Ma'am, I think the fourth event of the play is that the women discover an empty bird cage.
Yes, the discovery of an empty bird cage. Very good, Miss Reyes. Pass it on. Stop. Yes, the fifth event.
I think, ma'am, that Mrs. Hale talks about Mrs. Wright's unhappy marriage.
Yes, very good, Mr. Amante. Okay. About the unhappy marriage of Mrs. Wright. What about the sixth event? Pass it the ball. Stop. Yes, Miss Kata.
Yes, ma'am. I think the sixth event of the play is that the women find the dead bird.
Yes. About the dead bird. Correct. Pass it on. Stop. Okay. Yes.
I think, ma'am, the seventh event is that the women hide the dead bird from the men.
Very good, Miss Innocential. Yes. The women hide the dead bird from the men. Okay, for the last event, pass it on. Stop. Yes, Miss Pukulan.
I think, ma'am, the last event of the play is that the county attorney hints the lack of the evidence.
Yes. The last event is about the attorney giving the hints, the lack of evidences. Okay, thank you for your participation. You have shown great understanding of our play.
To assess your understanding about our lesson, let's have an activity. Isolation is one of the themes explored in the play. Consider a situation in your neighborhood that is similar to the one depicted in the play, in which a woman is isolated and subjected to domestic violence by her husband. As a neighbor, what will you do? Make a script about it and stage it as a chamber theater piece I'll give you 10 minutes to write your script, including presentation practice. Am I understood, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, here's our criteria. Focus, 10%. Voice, 10%. Body movements and gesture, 10%. Style, 10%. Delivery, 10%. Facial expression, 15%. And the content is 30% with a total of 100%. Well, what amazing performance! Thank you for your awesome performance, class.
You have done a very wonderful presentations in your chamber theater. Now, for another 10 minutes, do the following activities. So please be guided with the following criteria that I will present to you later. So here is the instruction. You will be divided into 3 groups. Then, for another 10 minutes, make at least 2 paragraphs or stanzas justifying the roles of men and women in our society through the following assigned tasks for each group. Group 1 will do the spoken poetry, Group 2 will make open letter, and Group 3 will present a song. Any question, class?
None, ma'am.
Very good. In our lesson today, we have read and discussed about an American play titled Trifles by Susan Glaspell. Susan Glaspell's Trifles can be regarded as a work of feminist literature. The play depicts the life of a woman who has been suppressed, oppressed, and subjugated by a patronizing patriarchal husband. The women in Trifles cannot, as the play reveals, be trifled with. Although Glaspell wrote the play more than 100 years ago, it continues to be relevant to contemporary relationships between men and women because its essentially feminist perspectives provides a convincing case for the necessity of women to move beyond destructive stereotypes and oppressive assumptions in order to be true to their own significant, not trifling experiences. So, before we end our discussion, do you have clarifications or do you have questions, class, in our discussion today about trifles?
None,
So
ma'am.
far, none, ma'am.
Very good. I am very glad for your response.
Are you still with us, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. This time, to test your knowledge, we will have a quiz. Are you all excited?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it is just a 10-item quiz that will assess your understanding about the play that you have read. Now, you have to prepare your 1/4 piece of paper. Okay, I believe that you are all ready. It's quiz time! First question, who is the author of the play? Remember, class, I will just read the questions once. Who is the author of the play? A. Susan Roses, B. Susan Glaser, C. Susan Glaspell. Just write the correct answer. The letter of the correct answer. Number 2, from the play. What is the meaning of trifles? A. A sweet dessert. B. A little fold. Or C. A thing of little value or importance. For our third question, who is the main character of the play? A. Minnie Mouse. B. Minnie Wright. Or C. Minnie Weather. Number 4. It is a one-act play with a murder as its central theme. Letter A, trifles. Letter B, raffles. Or letter C, waffles. Okay, the fifth question. What are the main themes of the play? A, gender differences. B, poverty. Or C, hunger. Number 6. What is the setting of the play? A, in a happy house. B, abundant farm. Or letter C, abandoned farmhouse. Number 7. Who died in the play? A, Mrs. Wright. B, Mr. Hale. Or letter C, Mr. Wright. Number 8. What is the value in the play? Letter A, listen to men only. B, learn to listen to anyone's opinion. Or letter C, believe in yourself. Number 9. I hope you are following with me. Number 9, what are the symbols in the play? Letter A, bread, cake, and syrup. Letter B, bird cage, bird, and rope. Or letter C, needle, thread, or scissors. For the last question, what is the most important lesson in the play Trifles? Letter A, never give up in reaching your dreams. Letter B, there is equality between men and women. Letter C, everything happens for a reason. Okay, I hope you are all done. Let us proceed now with your assignment. So you can pass your paper later after my part here. For our assignment, we have posted the activity in your LMS, and that is to create a poem about gender equality. You shall do this using the Canva app. I suppose you are already exposed with this, and just convert it into PNG and submit it before our next meeting. Is my instruction clear, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That concludes our class today. Thank you for your participation and for your active listening.